Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because we've got to talk about what's going on in Philadelphia. Yeah, I'm talking about the city of brotherly love, cheesesteaks, passionate fans, and a football team that's been riding the fine line between greatness and drama for the better part of 2 years now. And right in the middle of all that, none other than A.J. Brown, the wide receiver who has been both the spark plug and, at times, the lightning rod for this Eagles offense. The whispers, the rumors, the speculation, they've all been swirling. But as of now, the Eagles are making one thing crystal clear. Their top wideout is not available for trade. Not now, not before the deadline, not this season. And that message, according to reports from Diana Rossini at The Athletic, has been delivered to every team that's been bold enough to pick up the phone and call Philly's front office. But let's be real. The very fact that teams are calling tells you something about how the rest of the league views this situation. There's blood in the water, and front offices around the NFL can smell it. They know A.J. Brown isn't exactly thrilled with how things have played out this year. His production, while still solid, hasn't hit the same dizzying heights as 2022 or 2023. His body language on the sidelines, his frustration during certain drives, it's been enough to get people talking. And when people start talking about A.J. Brown, it usually means there's something brewing under the surface. Now, before we dive into the drama, let's not forget who we're talking about here. A.J. Brown is not just another wide receiver. This is a guy who can take over games, a physical, explosive, emotionally charged player who can single-handedly change the momentum of a contest. He's built like a linebacker and runs like a sprinter, and when he's locked in, there's almost no corner in the league who can match up with him one-on-one. That kind of talent doesn't come around often, and the Eagles know it. That's why, even with the phone ringing and other GMs fishing for a deal, Philadelphia is standing firm. They're not letting their guy go. Not this year. Not while they're trying to make another run at a championship. Still, this is the NFL, and we all know how quickly things can change. The Eagles aren't strangers to the trade market. Howie Roseman, their general manager, has built his reputation on aggressive, creative moves that most teams wouldn't even consider. He's the kind of guy who always answers the phone. If there's a chance to make the team better, he'll listen. But this time, he's apparently shutting the conversation down before it even starts. Because even though the Eagles could get a massive haul for A.J. Brown, we're talking first-round picks, maybe a young player or two, the kind of package that rebuilds a roster, that's not where their focus is right now. Their eyes are on the prize, and they know that without Brown, their chances of getting back to the Super Bowl take a massive hit. And that's the thing, the Eagles are good. They're still one of the most complete rosters in football. They've had their hiccups, sure, with that surprising loss to Denver and a frustrating one against the Giants. But when you look at the big picture, this team is built to win. Jalen Hurts is still playing at a high level. The defense, even if not as dominant as it once was, can still make big plays. And on offense, when things click, they look like the same unstoppable unit that took the league by storm 2 seasons ago. The problem is consistency. 1 week, the passing game is electric. The next, it's disjointed, predictable, and lacking rhythm. And that's where the A.J. Brown situation comes into play. Before week 5, things started to bubble up. Reports came out about Brown being unhappy with his role in the offense. The targets weren't there, the big plays weren't coming, and he was getting visibly frustrated. So what did the Eagles do? They came out against Denver and basically said, "All right, let's feed our guy." It was a pass-heavy game plan, almost like they were trying to make a statement, not just to the fans, but to A.J. himself. And it worked. He got the looks, he got the touches, and suddenly, all that tension seemed to fade. At least for the moment. But you can't keep papering over cracks forever. When a player like Brown feels underutilized, that's not a problem that just disappears with one big game. It lingers. It simmers. And it always comes back around once the targets start dipping again. Right now, Brown has 51 targets through 7 games. Not bad, but not quite where he's been in the past. If he stays on this pace, he'll finish with around 123 targets this season. That's a solid number. But when you compare it to the 145 looks he got in 2022 or the 158 he saw last year, it's a noticeable drop-off. Sure, part of that comes from the Eagles trying to balance their offense, especially after bringing in Saquon Barkley. The idea was that Barkley would give them a dominant run game, taking some of the pressure off Hurts and keeping defenses honest. But that plan hasn't really worked out. Barkley's averaging just 3.3 yards per carry, a far cry from the monster 2,000-yard season he had last year. When your expensive new running back isn't delivering, the natural adjustment is to lean back into the passing game. And when you do that, the question becomes, who's getting the targets? That's where the tension between Brown and Devonta Smith starts to show. Because let's be honest, both guys want the ball, and both have the talent to justify it. In Week 7, Smith absolutely exploded with a 9-catch, 183-yard performance. Brown, meanwhile, wasn't exactly quiet, catching 4 passes for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are elite numbers from both receivers. But even in that kind of game, the storyline wasn't just about the production. It was about balance, chemistry, and the underlying question of whether there's enough football to go around for everyone to be happy. And while we're on the subject of happiness, let's talk contracts. Because money, as always, adds another layer to the drama. A.J. Brown's deal, a 3-year, $96 million extension, keeps him under contract through 2029, but it's structured in a typically creative Eagles fashion. There are option bonuses, void years, and rolling guarantees that keep the team flexible. His 2026 salary is already locked in after he stayed on the roster this past March, but the real pivot point comes after that. There's a $4 million trigger in 2027 if he's still with the team by the 3rd day of the 2026 league year. What that means, in plain English, is that the Eagles could easily decide to move him after 2025 if they wanted to. And if they did, they'd likely get a king's ransom in return. That's why so many people around the league are watching this situation closely. Because while the Eagles are saying no, now, the future isn't so clear. Imagine a scenario where they fall short this year. Maybe they make the playoffs, but don't go deep. Maybe the offense continues to sputter. Suddenly, that untouchable label starts to fade, and teams in desperate need of a star receiver come knocking again. Maybe it's a team with a young quarterback looking for a proven target. Maybe it's a contender that feels one big piece away from a Super Bowl. And at that point, if you're Howie Roseman, do you start to listen? Especially when you know that by 2026, Brown will be 29 years old, inching closer to that age where wideouts tend to start slowing down. Still, that's a question for another day. Right now, the focus is on winning, and that means getting the most out of the weapons you have. The Eagles have to find a way to keep Brown engaged, Smith productive, and Barkley effective all at once. That's easier said than done. Offenses are built on rhythm, on trust, on play design that maximizes everyone's strengths. And when you have a star like A.J. Brown, who thrives on emotion and feeds off big moments, you've got to make sure he stays involved. Otherwise, the frustration comes back, the headlines return, and suddenly, a 5-2 team starts feeling like it's 2-5. If there's one thing that could define the rest of the Eagles' season, it's how they manage this balance. A.J. Brown isn't going anywhere right now. That's the headline. That's the message. But make no mistake, the story isn't over. If he keeps producing, the Eagles will keep winning, and all this trade chatter will fade into the background. But if the offense stalls, if the frustration builds, if another sideline argument hits social media, those phones are going to start ringing again. And when they do, it'll be up to the Eagles to decide whether to keep riding the roller coaster with Brown or cash in while his value is sky high. So for now, Philly fans can breathe easy. Their star receiver is staying put, the offense is still dangerous, and the team remains one of the NFL's best bets to make noise in the postseason. But beneath the surface, you can feel it, the tension, the pressure, the sense that something's got to give. Because in Philadelphia, nothing ever stays quiet for long. And when it comes to A.J. Brown, the story's always just one big play or one bad game, away from flaring up all over again. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. The Philadelphia Eagles locker room is reportedly simmering with tension, and the latest whispers coming out of the team's headquarters could set the NFL world on fire. According to multiple sources close to the organization, quarterback Jalen Hurts, the rising star who has carried the Eagles on his shoulders through the past seasons, has allegedly exploded behind closed doors, sending shockwaves through the franchise. The phrase, "if he comes, I'm out," has allegedly been heard by insiders, a statement that, if true, could signify one of the most dramatic power plays in recent NFL history. The identity of the player rumored to be the subject of this outburst remains shrouded in mystery, but speculation has run rampant among fans, analysts, and rival teams alike, with theories ranging from a high-profile free agent acquisition to a blockbuster trade target that would undoubtedly shake the depth chart and the locker room hierarchy. The intensity of Hurts' alleged reaction underscores the delicate balance of ego, talent, and leadership that exists at the top levels of professional football, a balance that can be threatened by even the hint of competition. Inside the Eagles' facilities, sources suggest that management is reportedly scrambling to assess the situation, weighing not just the potential talent of the incoming player, but also the locker room dynamics and the message that any acquisition might send to their star quarterback. It's a scenario that could place the front office in a precarious position. On one hand, pursuing the league's best available talent could elevate the team's championship chances, but on the other hand, pushing Hurts to the edge could destabilize the very foundation of a team that has shown consistent promise under his leadership. Rumors indicate that Hurts' outburst wasn't just a casual comment, but a pointed declaration of intent, a statement of his perceived value and his unwillingness to cede control of the team's offense. If these reports hold water, it paints a portrait of a quarterback who is not just confident, but willing to confront organizational decisions head-on, a rare but potent mix in the high-stakes world of professional sports. Analysts who have weighed in on the situation suggest that this type of turmoil is not without precedent, but the timing could not be more sensitive. The NFL offseason is a period of rumors, trades, and strategic maneuvering, and a statement like Hurts' alleged proclamation can ignite a wildfire of speculation. Fans have taken to social media to dissect every hint, every gesture, and every interview from Hurts in recent weeks, searching for evidence that he might be serious about his threat. Some point to his growing stature in the league, arguing that a quarterback of his caliber has the leverage to demand loyalty and influence roster decisions. Others caution that behind-the-scenes drama of this nature can escalate quickly, leading to either an amicable resolution or a very public showdown. Either way, the tension is palpable, and insiders say that meetings between Hurts and team executives have already intensified, with strategy sessions reportedly being held in closed-door rooms, away from the press and the public eye, to try to contain the situation before it spirals further. The nature of Hurts' statement also raises questions about the psychological aspect of managing elite athletes. Sports psychologists and team consultants are said to be closely observing the interactions, offering guidance on communication and conflict resolution. The balancing act of handling a star quarterback's emotions while pursuing organizational goals is tricky, and the Eagles' leadership reportedly finds itself walking a tightrope. Every rumor about potential acquisitions, every whisper of possible trades, is now being viewed through the lens of Hurts' declaration. The potential ripple effect extends beyond the quarterback himself. Receivers, offensive linemen, and even coaching staff are reportedly aware of the tension, and the locker room atmosphere, according to insiders, is charged with a mix of excitement, anxiety, and uncertainty. The entire ecosystem of the team is seemingly bracing for the impact of a single statement that could redefine the season's trajectory. Meanwhile, in the media landscape, the story has exploded like wildfire. Analysts, commentators, and sports journalists are dissecting every angle, from the possible player who might trigger Hurts' threat to the potential consequences for the Eagles' Super Bowl ambitions. Rumors suggest that rival teams are paying close attention, sensing that this situation could provide leverage in trade discussions or contract negotiations. Agents representing other players are reportedly circling, attempting to gauge how Hurts' stance might influence the team's decisions and, ultimately, the market for high-profile talent. The drama has become a narrative all its own, with speculation about locker room loyalty, franchise direction, and the balance of power in Philadelphia dominating headlines and social media threads alike. Fans, of course, are split. Some view Hurts' alleged outburst as a sign of passion, leadership, and competitiveness, while others worry that it could be a harbinger of chaos, a prelude to an off-season fraught with tension and uncertainty. As the off-season progresses, the stakes only rise. Hurts' potential willingness to walk away if the right player arrives introduces a layer of strategy into every roster decision. It's not merely a question of talent acquisition, but of negotiation, psychology, and brand management. Reports from inside the organization suggest that contingency plans are being discussed, including scenarios where Hurts could either be convinced to stay, reassured about his position, or, in a worst-case scenario, traded to preserve team harmony. The Eagles' front office is reportedly engaging in intense scenario planning, modeling every possible outcome and its impact on team morale, fan sentiment, and the broader perception of the franchise. The pressure on executives is immense, with decisions made in the coming weeks potentially shaping not only the next season but the long-term trajectory of the team. The buzz surrounding this story has led to unprecedented attention from fans and media alike. Every statement, every social media post from Hurts or team executives is being analyzed for hidden meaning. Interviews with former players, coaches, and insiders have only added fuel to the fire, with each commentary contributing to the growing narrative of tension, loyalty, and high-stakes drama. Some insiders have even suggested that Hurts' stance reflects a deeper philosophy about his role in the NFL, a commitment to being the central figure in a team's success and an unwillingness to be overshadowed, regardless of the talent brought in. This perspective, while potentially polarizing, underscores the complex interplay between individual ambition and organizational objectives, a theme that resonates across professional sports. In the end, whether this story resolves quietly or erupts into full-blown drama remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The NFL world is watching Philadelphia with bated breath. The potential implications of Hurts' alleged declaration could ripple across the league, affecting trades, contracts, and even the balance of power in the NFC East. For now, the story remains a tantalizing rumor, a narrative filled with tension, uncertainty, and the promise of explosive revelations. As insiders continue to share tidbits and leaks, fans and analysts alike are left to wonder, will Jalen Hurts stand his ground, or will the arrival of a new star reshape the Eagles' landscape forever? The offseason has never felt so electrifying, and the drama surrounding one of the league's brightest quarterbacks is only just beginning to unfold. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.